A daily dose of the Bible. Let me scooch back a little here. We are just reading through the Bible together. Just a little bit about what I think, but mostly just the Word, and I just want everyone to be able to access it whenever you want, anytime, anywhere. All you gotta do is just click on this, and there you go. There's Mark 6 today. Jesus is ministering to the people. The last thing he did was heal a little girl. Everybody thought she was dead, and they laughed at him when he said he was going to heal her. And then she just, everyone had enough faith. Her father, I think particularly Jairus. So Jesus healed her, and everyone was amazed, and he told them not to tell. So Mark 6 is Jesus is rejected at Nazareth. Jesus left that part of the country and returned to his disciples to Nazareth, with his disciples to Nazareth, his hometown. The next Sabbath, he began teaching in the synagogue, and many who heard him were amazed. They asked, "Where did he get all this wisdom and power to perform such miracles?" Then they scoffed, "He's just a carpenter, son of Mary, and the brother of James, Joseph, Judas, Simon, and his sisters live right here with us." They were deeply offended and refused to believe in him. Then Jesus told them, "A prophet is honored everywhere except in his own hometown, among his relatives and his own family." Because of their unbelief, he couldn't do any miracles among them, except to place hands on a few sick people and heal them. And he was amazed at their unbelief. So, because of their unbelief, he couldn't do any miracles. And I'm sure that he could have done miracles, whether they believe or not, Well, the way God works is you have to choose before he's going to help you, That's what free will is all about. So maybe since they were just all thick-headed and, not only just what would be the point, but it'd be wrong to reward unbelief with miracles. So, yeah, they just think, well, that's that kid that, used to babysit my daughter and son over at the park or whatever, We know him. He can't be anything that special because he's here. He's from here. We've known him his whole life. And, that's unfortunate. It's really sad that they were so unbelieving and they missed out on those great miracles that he could have done for them. Jesus is going to send out the 12 disciples now. Then Jesus went from village to village, teaching people. He called his 12 disciples together and began sending them out 2 by 2, giving them authority to cast out evil spirits. He told them to take nothing for their journey except a walking stick. No food, no traveler's bag, no money. He allowed them to wear sandals, but not to change their clothes. Not to take a change of clothes. "Wherever you go," he said, "stay in the same house until you leave town. But if any place refuses to welcome you or listen to you, shake its dust off your feet and leave it to show that you have abandoned those people to their fate." So the disciples went out, telling everyone they met to repent their sins and turn to God. And they cast out many demons and healed many sick people, and anointing them with olive oil. So this is kind of like a commission right here, like a great commission that he says, wherever you go, stay in the same house and shake the dust off anyone who refuses you. And they went out for their first individual, their group, but they're not with Jesus, and they are out preaching and teaching. So this is the first time that he sent them to share the gospel. The death of John the Baptist. Herod Antipas the king soon heard about Jesus because everyone was talking about him. Some were saying, "This is John the Baptist raised from the dead. That is why he can do so many miracles." Others said he's the prophet Elijah. Still others said he's the prophet like the other great prophets of the past. When Herod heard about Jesus, he said, "John, the man I beheaded, has come back from dead." For Herod had sent soldiers to arrest and imprison John as a favor to Herodias. She had been his brother's wife, Philip's wife, but Herod had married her. John had been telling Herod, "It's against God's law for you to marry your brother's wife." So Herodias bore a grudge against John and wanted to kill him. But without Herod's approval, she was powerless. For Herod respected John, and knowing he was a good and holy man, he protected him. Herod was greatly disturbed whenever he talked with John, but even so, he liked to listen to him. Herodias' chance finally came on Herod's birthday. He gave a party for his high government officials, army officers, and leading citizens of Galilee. Then his daughter, also named Herodias, came in and performed a dance that greatly pleased Herod and his guests. "Ask me for anything you like," the king said to the girl, "and I will give it to you," he vowed. "I will give you whatever you ask, up to half of my kingdom." She went out and asked her mother, "What should I ask for?" Her mother told her, "Ask for the head of John the Baptist." So the girl hurried back to the king and told him, "I want the head of John the Baptist right now on a tray." I can't, this is like such a sad story to me. I hate it. Then the king deeply regretted what he had said, but because of his vows he had made in front of his guests, he couldn't refuse her. So he immediately sent an executioner to the prisoner to cut off John's head and bring it to him. The soldier beheaded John in the prison, brought his head on a tray, and gave it to the girl, who took it to her mother. When Jesus' disciples heard what happened, they came to get his... when John's disciples heard what happened, they came to get his body and buried him in a tomb. Horrible. Horrible. John is, Jesus' cousin. He's been, ever since he was in the womb, he's been excited to see Jesus. I'm sure they met. I'm sure they knew each other, but this just had to be, he's almost like the first martyr. He's certainly a prophet sent by God to prepare the way. And it's so sad to me how he meets his end by some manipulative jerk, She didn't like, Herodias didn't like what John had to say about her moral condition. He was telling her she was doing wrong. So she hated him and plotted to kill him. And that's a lot like what everybody does to Jesus in the end. I mean, the end of his physical life here on earth. Not, hopefully we won't reject him. We'll love him and serve him, and life becomes so much easier. Alright, so now Jesus is going to feed the 5,000. The apostles returned to Jesus from their ministry tour and told him all they had done and taught. Then Jesus said, "Let's go off by ourselves to a quiet place and rest a while." He said this because there were so many people coming and going that Jesus and his apostles didn't even have time to eat. So they left the boat for a quiet place where they could be alone. But many people recognized them and saw them leaving. People from many towns ran ahead along the shore and got there ahead of them. Jesus saw the huge crowd as he stepped from the boat. He had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. That's one of my favorite verses. He had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. He just wants to lead them and help them and get them safely into the barn. Late in the afternoon, his disciples came to him and said, "This is a remote place and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so they can go nearby farms and villages and buy something to eat." But Jesus said, You feed them. With what, they asked. We'd have to work for months to earn enough money to buy food for all these people. How much bread do you have? He asked. Go and find out. They came back and reported, we have 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Jesus told the disciples to have the people sit down in groups on the green grass. They sat down in groups of 50 or 100. Jesus took the 5 loaves and 2 fish, looked up toward heaven and blessed them. Then, breaking the loaves into pieces, he kept giving the bread to the disciples so they could distribute it to the people. He also divided the fish for everyone to share. They all ate as much as they wanted, and afterwards the disciples picked up 12 baskets of leftover bread and fish. A total of 5,000 men and their families were fed from those loaves. That's so amazing. And Jesus, that's just like him, his compassion for the people. And, that's why he heals them before, he can't stand to see us hurting, and he wants to help us, and he always has the answer. It's got to be so painful for him to see us wallowing. I don't know if he has. Of course it's painful. It's like torturous, when your own children are lost, gone astray, doing something naughty, and you don't know what to do about it. That's the feeling, but times 6 billion or whatever, It's just got to be so overwhelming. And, well, not overwhelming. He can handle it. He's just so saddened by it that he knows they have to eat before they can really listen to anything he has to say. So they're all fed. Jesus walks on water. Immediately after this, Jesus insisted that his disciples get back into the boat and head across the lake to Bethsaida, while he sent the people home. After telling everyone goodbye, he went up into the hills by himself to pray. Late that night, the disciples were in their boat in the middle of the lake, and Jesus was alone on land. He saw that they were in serious trouble, rowing hard and struggling against the wind and the waves. About 3 o'clock in the morning, Jesus came toward them, walking on the water. He intended to go past them, but when they saw him walking on the water, they cried out in terror, thinking he was a ghost. They were terrified when they saw him. Jesus spoke at once. Don't be afraid, he said. Take courage. I am here. Then he climbed into the boat, and the wind stopped. They were totally amazed, for they didn't understand the significance of the miracle of the loaves. Their hearts were too hard to take it in. After they crossed the lake, they landed at Nazareth. They brought the boat to shore and climbed out. The people recognized Jesus at once, and they ran throughout the whole area, carrying sick people on mats wherever they heard he was. Wherever he went, in villages, cities, or countrysides, they brought the sick out to the marketplaces. They begged him to let the sick touch at least the fringe of his robe, and all who touched him were healed. If only we could have a awakening like that, Everybody from all the towns and villages bring their sick people to be healed by Jesus. It still happens every day, all the time today, that Jesus heals. And he heals in so many ways, and it's just so amazing. That's a beautiful story of how he loves us. Just so much. He gave his own life, he came here and he limited himself to our boring old earthly bodies, and he cared so much he couldn't, I kind of always think maybe he wished he could be here longer. He wished that he could be with us in physical form. It's such an opportunity for God to come and see what it was really like to be a person. I know he understood fully, but still, seems like, it was a great experience until the end, and the people really needed him so much. And I just pray that that's what we do. We just bring our sick and our demon possessed and are depressed and are lonely and are whatever it is, our finances, our car, our sicknesses, or whatever it is, lay it at Jesus' feet and just know all you have to do is touch the fringe of his robe and he will heal you. And healing doesn't always look like, oh, I'm better. It's a miracle today, right now. Sometimes healing doesn't even involve changing the sickness that you have. Maybe it's healing your mind and showing you how to seek his kingdom. And when we seek his kingdom first, then what's the worst that this world can do? If you die and you're seeking God's kingdom and you know that you're saved and you are working for the Lord and anticipating with bright hope that glory of heaven someday, then dying is like the ultimate, not like you should rush it. You should also be like Jesus and want to change this world as much as you can while you're here. And that's part of what I'm trying to do here. And that's what we should all do, is try to find our own ways to pry open those corners and just let Jesus in everywhere we can. Bring him with us wherever we go and share him with everyone we see.